Hi there. Today we're going to be taking a closer look at portraiture. As we discovered in a previous lesson, we know that portraiture is a subject matter of art in which the person who is in the image can be clearly identified, whether it is visibly by what he or she looks like, or through the title of the work that the artist gives. What we're going to be doing today is looking at some of the conventions of portraiture to see how artists choose to depict the people that they are representing and really start to investigate what that says about the person who is in the image that we're looking at. The first person that we're going to take a look at is King Henry VIII. This is a 16th century painting by Hans Holbein the Younger, and this is what we would call a frontal portrait. Here we can see the person's face entirely, both eyes, we can see the nose, we can see both ears, and that's the big clue that it is a frontal portrait, is being able to see both eyes and both ears. What we're going to notice though throughout is that where the eyes are looking changes how we interpret the person in the image. In this case, King Henry VIII is looking directly out at us, the viewer, and giving us a sense that he is a very confident, bold, strong person. A second frontal image is a self-portrait by Andy Warhol, who was a prolific pop artist through the 1960s into the 1980s. This image, created using silkscreen, was done in 1986. Again, we see that the image is frontal. Right? This time it's hard to see Warhol's ears because of the hair, but right, we still see the same basic organization of the face. Both eyes, and we see the full width of the face from cheekbone to cheekbone. Here the eyes are directed out towards the viewer, right? But they're not directly gazing at the viewer. There's a slight difference here, so that it changes the psychology of how we react to the image. Right? Warhol was a very big personality in the art world during the 1960s and 70s and 80s as well. And here there's a sense of confidence that comes through the color and the high contrast, right? But there's a little bit more leeway in terms of his ability to confront the viewer. It seems to me as though he's just looking over my shoulder as I'm looking at him. Our third image is a self-portrait with Thorn Necklace by Frida Kahlo. This was done in the 1940s. And again, we see the conventions of a frontal portrait. There's a sense of confidence about her. She's looking directly out at the viewer. Right? And as we notice, as the gaze or the direction of the eyes change, it changes the stature of power, or the power relationship between the viewer and the subject matter. The second type of portraiture is that of the profile. Right? And really, with this type, we will never see the subject gazing back out at us, and that's because their face is turned 90 degrees. We see the profile of their face, right? The edge of their forehead, the crest and ridge of the nose, the contour of the lips and the chin as it wraps around, and we only see one eye and we see one ear only. This is the keys of a profile. It's half of a face. Right? Typically, the emotion that's given off with a profile portrait is that of shyness, right? They don't want to really engage, or perhaps they're distracted with something other than the viewer. Okay. A second example, right? You can tell again, it's a very similar setup, right? Looking directly to the side, we see one ear, we see one eye, we see the contour of the forehead, the nose, and the lips as well. It's also a convention that was used in photography as well. This image by Edward Curtis is almost 100% profile, but you'll notice very carefully, if you look at the eyes right in the center here, right, we can start to see the ridge of the eye socket on the far side. So it's still a profile, but it's starting to break away from that very strict convention of just seeing the very ridge of the nose. Again, because the subject matter is not looking directly out of the picture space, right? He's looking off to the side. There's a distance that's created between subject and viewer. The third main convention of portraiture, right, is that of the three-quarter. Right? The key here for identifying a three-quarter portrait is that typically both eyes are visible, but only one ear, right? Essentially, it's halfway between a frontal portrait and a profile portrait. And what we'll notice as well is that here we see a lot more shifting of the eyes in order to create different feelings. Gauguin in this self-portrait is very strongly directly looking at the viewer. The three-quarter view gives him a sense of calmness, of approachability, but his gaze also gives a sense of confidence. Right? Here, in this image, again by Edward Curtis, we see two different portraits. One of the young child, right, frontal portrait looking directly out at us, but the mother over on the right-hand side here is in three-quarters. We can see one eye, we can see two eyes, and we can see where the ear is underneath the hair. And again, she is looking directly out of the picture space, off into the distance. She is disengaged from us as a viewer, whereas the child is engaged. Right? Where the person is looking creates engagement for the viewer. It is so essential to be thinking about that sense of direction. The last one here, of three-quarter, is by an artist by the name of Sir Nathaniel Dance Holland. And this is a portrait of Sir John Wayland. Right? Again, we see the conventions of the three quarters. One, two eyes. We see one ear. Right? Whereas Gauguin was gave an air of confidence. Right? He is a much more humble individual. He's looking out. He's preoccupied with something other than me as the viewer. Right? He doesn't necessarily have that same boldness and charisma that Gauguin had, or King Henry for that matter, because he's not looking at me. So far we've taken a look at three different major conventions: the frontal portrait, the profile portrait, and here we've taken a look at the three-quarter portrait. These can be combined as well with different camera angles and camera shots. Very simply, here with this portrait, which isn't quite finished yet, we would call this a low angle shot. Right? In a way, this is almost a low angle three-quarter because we see the two eyes, the one ear, and we also are looking up at the viewer. The low angle also gives the person in the portrait a considerable amount of power and importance. Despite the fact that he's looking up and away, we get a sense that he is a very powerful figure. Using a high angle, right, it creates a different sense of importance. Although the figure is looking down, it's painted, it's bold, right, and it's three-quarter, and there's a sense of approachability, right? We as the viewer, because we're looking down on him, there's a much stronger sense of his importance. Another strategy is to use a close-up where we zoom in. Right? This looks like it would probably be a three-quarter because we can imagine the ear being over at the other side. Again, the three-quarter creates a sense of approachability. His gaze is off in the distance in which he's preoccupied, but he's important because we're zoomed in on him. Rembrandt's portrait of Saskia with a flower. This is what we would call a medium shot, so we're starting to pull farther away, right, to give the person more space within the canvas or the drawing area, right? And here we have a frontal portrait, right? There's physical distance, right? She's looking directly at us, the viewer, right? But the distance that's created doesn't necessarily make her the powerful individual. It's creating a more conversational relationship between the two of us. There's a sense of personality that emerges. Lastly, we have Sir Joshua Reynolds' painting of Augustus Keppel from 1752. This is a long shot. We've pulled very far away. There's a sense of distance, right? The three-quarter portrait that we had talked about previously, which gives the sense of approachability, right? Coupled with the long shot, sort of they're at odds with each other. So although it looks like he's approachable, he's not gonna stare us down. The distance through the long shot creates a physical barrier for engaging with the viewer as well. Ultimately, when you're choosing your portraiture, you need to be thinking about whether or not you're wanting it to be profile or frontal, and what does that do to how the viewer is going to engage. Right? You also need to consider, is three-quarters an option as well? Right? Each one of them creates a different relationship with the viewer. Coupled with the camera angles and the camera shots, the high angle, the low angle, the close-up, the medium, and the long shot, we can really start to create a relationship between the subject or the person that we are depicting in the work, as well as the viewer as well.